Hi everyone, welcome. So for this month's newsletter, I wanted to share with you some wrist and ankle exercises you can do on the daily on your own to help strengthen these joints. Considering how often we use these parts of our body, we really don't do a lot of strengthening and conditioning for them. So I wanted to offer you some simple exercises that you can do on your own before you come to class, how often as you'd like to, and just getting more comfortable with integrating this work into your daily practice. So the first exercise we're going to start with is called forearm flares. So you'll come into a comfortable position, kneeling, seated, all the way down, whatever is most comfortable for you. And from here, you'll reach the arms out in front of you. Arms will be shoulder height. So fingertips are pointing straight forward. And then from there, you're going to angle the fingers in towards each other. So bringing more of that angle from the wrist to the fingers. And then we'll angle them out, away from each other. So in, out. And just so you can see the side view, in, out, in, out. So that third or fourth time that you angle them in, you're starting with the pinky finger. You're gonna curl the fingers into a fist, and you're gonna already be in that angle. So you're gonna maintain that angle as you draw the fingers into that fist position. And then continue to angle down towards the floor. So the top of the fist, kind of where the third knuckle is pressing down towards the floor. And you begin to feel in that process perhaps a strong sensation through the top of the wrist into the forearm and through the bottom side of the forearm. So that's why we call them forearm flares, because at that point, you feel this sense of flaring, maybe joints are springing out of the forearm. So again, hold that as long as you can. Try to keep the shoulders relaxed. Try to keep the rib cage drawing in and crown of head stacked over tailbone. And then from there, release the thumbs out. Carve the thumb through space and slowly unfurl the fingers back open. So now the palms are facing directly forward. You're maintaining that angle, active angle in the wrist joint. So heel of the hand pressing forward, fingertips drawing back. And try to hold this for as long as you can, at least up to 10 breaths. And then at that point, you'll just kind of want to shake it out and release. So that's exercise number 1. Second exercise that I'm going to give you is, again, working that active angle in the wrist, and then we're going to add some finger taps. So some of you have done these hand-wrist exercises with me in practice, but now you have them on video at home. So you'll come into a quadruped position, taking the shoulders over the wrists, spreading the fingers, and before we begin the work, you're just going to start with shifting the weight forward. So shifting a little bit more load towards the edge of the fingers, and then shifting the hips back, taking the load off the hands. So we'll do that a couple times. And then you'll come back to center, again, noticing the angle of the wrist and identify kind of how many wrinkles you currently see in your wrist. So that's going to be your gauge as you move towards that active wrist position. So are you able to maintain that passive position as you move active? So ideally over time, we want to start to close the gap between our active and passive range. So quadruped position. As we start to shift the hips back, you'll gradually start to peel the fingers, the knuckles, the third knuckle, the palm, all the way away from the floor as the hips shift back. And you're taking essentially kind of a mini child's pose with the head up so that you can observe the work in the hands. And then slowly load the arms back up, pressing the palms back into the floor. Again, observing the wrinkles in the wrist. So we'll do that a few more times. So the hips move back, fingers begin to peel away from the floor, palms begin to peel away from the floor. And as the heels drive down, I'm keeping my arms straight and I'm sending the fingertips towards the forearms. And then slowly shift it back. Good. One more time. Take the hips back, peel the hands away from the floor. And then as you shift back that third time, or however many times you'd like to do this, you'll hold it there. Again, holding that active range in your wrists. And then we'll let the hands release. You'll want to take a little pause here, letting the head release out. Then lift the head back up. Stay in that kind of half child's pose position and lift your pointer finger away from the floor. Keep the pointer finger lifted and slowly start to load the arms back up. And only go as far forward into the arms as you can keep that pointer finger lifted. And then as the pointer finger stays lifted, you've reached your max load. You're gonna tap that pointer finger as fast as you possibly can. So tap, 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 tap. And then we'll lift that finger up, send the hips back, and then once the sitting bones are back towards the heels, you can rest that pointer finger. And then lift and hover the middle finger. Slowly, as you keep that middle finger lifted, you'll introduce more load into the arms, you'll pause, and then tap, 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 tap. And as you tap, keep pressing down strongly through the rest of the fingers. Lift and hover your middle finger, send the hips back, and then rest that middle finger. And you'll go all the way through to your pinky finger. And then after you complete those fingers, rest in your child's pose position. And then from there, you'll just come out of it. Give the hands a little shake and release. So next we're gonna move on to the feet and the ankles. So you'll start just sitting on the heels like so. And then we'll lean forward to tuck the toes under. Now for a lot of us, this is a pretty uncomfortable position. This is not something that we incorporate into our daily lives. However, this can really help with opening up the sole of the feet, helping with our transitions from our chaturangas into our up dog, into our down dog. So you'll hang out here for just a second. Hands can stay on the floor. And then you're gonna push off your hands and slowly lift the knees up, take the heels back, and as the heels land, arms will lift up, hips will lift up. And then hands drop back down, slowly bring the knees back down as you roll back onto the balls of the feet. And then push off, heels down, hips up, reach the arms forward. Now if you're having a hard time reaching for the floor, this is a great place to put some blocks underneath your hands to help assist you in that transition forward and back. So you can do this as many times as you'd like, and then as you shift into that very last one and come back down, so we'll shift back, we'll lift up, and then you'll come back down and see if you can hold this tuck-toed position. So bringing the hands onto the thighs, trying to slowly draw the chest back. So if this is difficult for you to find, there are variations in which you can support yourself here. So you can take a blanket behind the backs of the calves, behind the knees. If the knees feel a little stiff, this might be too deep of an angle for them. This will help open up the angle. You can also elevate underneath the fronts of the knees a block, taking the knees a little higher. Say if the front of the ankle, that dorsiflexion, front of the ankle is really stiff, this will just help relax that a little bit more, allowing it to be slightly more accessible. So that's your first exercise, just playing with that. And then the last one, you'll come onto hands and knees. So I'll show this from the front and from the side so that you can see my foot. So we'll extend the leg back, and as you extend the leg back, if you can kind of see through the opening here, I'm gonna point my toes straight back. And I'm gonna slowly shift the weight forward, and I'm gonna roll to the outer edge of the ankle and roll back to the ball of the foot. So you'll see I'm kind of rolling through the full circumference of my foot. And you're moving as you kind of rotate through the full range of motion of that ankle joint. You're also rolling through plantar flexion and dorsiflexion. So let me show you that from the side so that you can see a little bit better what's happening in the foot. So the leg extends back, toes are pointed, and then you're gonna roll to the outer edge of the ankle. You'll come to the ball of the foot, the toes will press, and then to the outer edge and roll. And you can do this as many times, and then you'll switch directions. And then you'll rest. So make sure you do that right to left and see where it takes you. So these are just a few exercises. There are so many more exercises for the hands, the wrists, the feet, and the ankles. But here are some ones that some of you have already experienced with me in class. And so they may be familiar, they may not be familiar. And just see as you integrate these into your practice, see how it changes things for you. See how it kind of changes these poses that we do so often, like plank, down dog, up dog, down dog, and see if you experience anything different by incorporating these exercises. And I'd love to hear your feedback. I'm going to continue to offer these educational videos with every newsletter now, giving you tips and tools to work various postures. Thank you. Namaste.